Good morning, you're listening to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. I'm at Coverings, second day of the show in Orlando, and I'm with Jenn Hoff, the CEO of Taffy Events. Jenn, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
I want to talk about this show. Before we get to that, a little background. So Taffy Events is the production company. You produce the Coverings Expo, and you've been doing this now under Taffy, your company, for 6 years, but you actually go way back with NTP Productions, right?
That's correct. So technically, I started 17 years ago with my first coverings, come full circle.
And wow, have we come through the pandemic, and isn't it nice to be together again? You wear two hats. You're in the trade show exhibition business in addition to being in the flooring business. When you just start thinking about trade shows and the pandemic, it's been a major setback for the trade show industry, hasn't it?
It has been a setback for the whole world, but definitely face-to-face gatherings, large gatherings, getting together, it was a shock to everybody. The great thing was the trade show industry and all our peers, we really bonded together over the time when things were closed down. And we met up through our industry associations, but we also did some impromptu groups that started getting together on regular basis and just sharing ideas and stories of what we thought it was going to look like when the comeback. Now, Orlando's had a few shows ahead of us, and we're putting best practices into place, and it's been a really bonding thing for the trade show industry, I'd say.
It's almost a hair-on-fire situation when you have this business model where the fees you get for the exhibit space pay to maintain your staff, and then that goes away, and you still got this staff, and then you're asked to do a virtual event which has no transaction for real estate in it. So, I mean, you've been through some major changes. I call it cheese moving events. And you actually did a virtual event last year, right?
We did. We rolled up our sleeves and put it together. And from that experience, we carried through what we called Coverings Connected and did several sessions over the year leading up to this to just keep everybody together because we're all in our own living rooms working, and it's good to see familiar faces and hear what people are doing in the industry. And some companies in the tile and stone world, shut down and business stopped, but other people were busy and doing things and never did stop. So it was good to have everybody come together virtually and hear what was going on and stay connected so that when we could come back face to face, we'd be ready to re-engage.
Jenn, you're sitting here talking with your hands, and I'm thinking there's really nothing like face-to-face interaction. Aren't you glad we're back?
I am so glad we're back and seeing you smiling over there, and it's a whole different feel. And walking around out on the show floor, you can really see people gathering in large groups watching presentations, but doing business and just catching up in the aisles. It's really great.
Are you happy so far with this year's results?
I am so happy. Everybody here seems to be very happy. The people working in Orlando in the convention center are happy. It's a good vibe. There's a good energy here.
Now run us through some statistics on how this compares to a normal covering.
We are in the Orange County Convention Center, and we would normally take up the whole what they call the north-south building. For this show, we just took the north side, and we're in about 250,000 gross square feet. We have over 350 companies. We might have approaching 1,000 or a little over 1,000 in a typical year. And then, we're only in our second day, but we're trending to be over 7,000 attendees. And we're excited about that because back to my trade show peers, the shows that have staged, the Vision Show, World of Concrete, a bunch of shows have been happening, and nobody really knew what to expect. And we're all kind of in the same proportion, and the people that are coming are really engaged and excited to be back, and we're looking to build on that for next year.
One of the things that people don't really think about is a trade show happens on a schedule based on when people are in a buying mode or in a new product release mode. Mm-hmm. And so with all these unknowns, we're showing new products, we're showing programs to potential customers, and we weren't sure exactly what the timing would be. So that always is going to impact. And then you've got the hurdles of international travel. Most people know Coverings is owned by Tile of Spain, the Italian Ceramic Trade Association. So those two foreign countries are involved in ownership of this show, and it's difficult logistically for them to get here, especially with COVID's still out there. So I would say this is quite a show.
It is quite a show, and we do have a lot of representation in the international pavilions out there. Half the floor is represented from other countries, and the industry really found a way to work through that with U.S.-based colleagues and constituents, and then some people were able to, I heard, quarantine in other countries and then come over here legitimately. That was interesting to me, too. I wasn't sure how that was going to all play out, but we do have a robust group of people out there doing a lot of business.
I went to your VIP event last night. It was business as usual. We got to see most of the decision makers in the business talking about some of the challenges they were facing. So thank you for having this event. Let's talk about the tie-in with the NWFA. That was brilliant. I'm glad you did it. The NWFA is the National Wood Flooring Association. The reality here is we have two shows going on concurrently and two halls that touch each other. From 100,000 feet, they're both traditional materials. Ceramic tile is a classic flooring, been around forever. Hardwood flooring, classic, been around forever. So you share that space a little bit. I'm hoping, I ask you this question, that this is something you will consider down the road to continue to do.
Well, I think it's a great thing for this week. A lot of shows had to make a decision because a lot of shows canceled in 2020 and getting into the beginning of 2021. Do we cancel our show again or do we push it forward? And we decided to push it forward and found some space. And the same thing was happening with the wood flooring folks. We just put our heads together and there was some extra space. So we're trying it out, and so far it's great. Both shows are open today and the traffic is going back and forth. So possibilities down the road, you never know. There's a lot of logistics and dates and space and all of that involved in these types of things, but so far we're having a great experience having them here. We're delighted.
If you think about it, you've got retailers, you've got distributors, you've got raw material suppliers, and you've got these sundries type of brands and companies out there that cross over. So it makes sense because the people that travel to a show, your downstream audience, gets to see both products. They really don't compete. Let's talk about next year. You probably won't be doing this with the NWFA because you already have a contract to be in Las Vegas at your normal time in April, right?
That is correct. We'll be in Las Vegas at the Convention Center April 5th through 8th. Again, you don't just wake up and get a convention center. There's a lot of forward planning, and so we're going to be in Vegas next year, and then going forward, we'll look down the road to see what happens there.
All right, great, Jen. It's good to talk to you, and congratulations on the first couple of days of a successful off-schedule covering show. Again, been talking to Jenn Hoff, the CEO of Taffy Events, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.